Hello, everybody, and welcome. We're going to get the NPA meeting on the road here in a moment. But before we do that, I'd like to thank Brian Perkins for providing our musical entertainment tonight. Hand it up for Brian. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. Also want to recognize the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, who will be presenting later tonight. They're going to be bringing some goodies for us to snack on with their presentation, so thank them. So without further ado, I'm Chris Hazley. I live here in Ward 3 on College Street. I'm one of the members of the steering committee. So I'll have the other steering committee members introduce themselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura in Ward 2. I live on North Ave.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica. Use she, her pronouns. I live on Ward 2 on Decatur Street.
Hey everyone, I'm Jazz. I use she, her pronouns. I'm on Ward 3, Grant Street.
Hi, I'm Roxanne. I use she, her pronouns, and I live on Pitkin Street in Ward 2.
And a big shout out to Jessica Hyman out in the kitchen, who's keeping us afloat with the
I am Amy,
community dinner.
and I am living on Johnson Street in Ward 3. Is that it? She and her pronouns.
Okay. There's a lot of us.
Hey everyone, sorry, I'm Molly. I'm with Ward 2 Steering Committee.
And we also have Charlie Messing, who's not able to make it tonight, and Michelle Borbas, who similarly not able to make it. Oh, so Charlie's online. We're off to a good start tonight. All right, so we'll need to adopt the agenda. We can get a motion to do that from somebody. All right. Any amendments, anybody? Okay, seeing none. Then the instructions. Anybody want to speak at public forum, announcements, anything of that nature? Lauren and
Yep.
Gail?
I'll go first and bring it over to Lisa. Hi everyone, Lauren again, still Lauren. I am a member of the board for the registration of voters, and I just want to remind everyone that the applications for board members are due, I think, May 15th. There are 3 open seats on the board for the registration of voters, so if you are interested in that, please, I'm happy to answer any questions, and please be sure to apply.
I'm trying to.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm here to announce that the trash grabber, picker-upper lending library is going great. There are 6 in circulation, and I have 5 new trash picker-uppers here tonight, so if anybody would like to borrow one, please come by.
I can't get the thing to work, but I'm here.
We can hear you, Charlie.
Oh, now I can see you too. It keeps going to just my name.
Charlie, did you have anything you wanted to add for public forum?
Control over this. No, but thank you. I hope you can hear me. I am seeing, for some reason, I am seeing just my name, and I can't get back into the room. Ah, there's the room. Okay, I can see the room, but you can't see me. That's okay. Hi, I'm here.
Okay, last call, public forum. Erica.
Hi everyone, Erica again, Decatur Street. I just want to make an announcement. I'm one of the adult advisors for the Vermont Youth Lobby, which is a coalition of high school students from across the state that go to Montpelier and advocate for climate policies in the State House with their legislators. They're holding their annual Rally for the Planet on Thursday, May 23rd from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. If anyone would like some additional information or want to sign up and attend, let me know. I have some info. But yeah.
Thank you, Erica.
Hello, my name is Mazhar. I'm a new kid in the block, came from Boston, and I want to bring a significant thing to start this story that last Saturday, I was driving near a Shell station and I've seen the grandmotherly lady who is picking up the thing. So I asked her, do you live here somewhere near Shell station? She said, no, I'm coming from North End and cleaning. I live very close from here in Old North End, and she's coming from the new North End. And there are many things I like. I been living in Boston area since 1968. I moved here 6 months ago. But something that really disturbs me when I see the people unconditionally smoking on the doors and throwing the cigarette butts and garbage. In the end of the St. Louis Street, there's a beautiful view of the Intervale. But if you look down, people throw all kinds of garbages, mattresses, and this thing. So looking at the example of the lady, is instead of having a cleaning day once a year or God knows or longer often, can we make a group or something and volunteers can do cleaning of our beautiful city more often? This is something I will request to everyone because in my personal opinion, there are many, many problems in the world, but the environment and thing is the topmost because once you don't have the base, you don't have anything. So I'd like to contact all the people, those are willing to spend an hour or two a month or every other month and just keep the cleaning.
Get like
But
a
it's
green up
delighted
crew.
to see all of you, none of you smoking or doing anything.
Thank you, sir. Milo, do you want to speak about the cleanup?
Oh, I should. Hi. So we're going to do some more cleaning. Thanks to Gene Bergman, who really did the heavy pushing and a lot of the organization. And then we, counselors, we get money to use at our discretion for staffing and business cards and other things like that. So we are putting our funds together in order to do another more neighborhood-centric cleanup. Regrettably, due to a lot of the activities downtown, activities, quote unquote, we have more garbage than usual. And a lot of people are seeing that things being dumped on their spaces, on their properties, on the public spaces, the cemeteries, etc. And then sometimes people have things in their homes that they're not capable of getting rid of because they don't have the transportation, etc. So we're going to have this wonderful event on the 18th, starting at 10:30. Right now, if you'd like to volunteer, if you could email Jean. Otherwise, spread the word. We put on Front Porch Forum. We'll probably do some social media on it, but I think word of mouth is going to be really helpful. I think we'll also catch more of the students. I was just talking to someone about UVM doing their first spring clean out, but they did it kind of early. So we'll probably catch some student activity, which will be fine because last year, I think a lot of people remember it was a very difficult move-out time, and there was a lot of trash and stuff left in the Greenbelt. So this Saturday, any questions? I'm here, Joe Kane's here, and I believe Jean will be joining us online a little bit later. Thank you.
Thanks, Milo. Any other further announcements? One last one. This is Teacher Appreciation Week. If you can read our agenda. Thank you, teacher.
Hi, my name's Harold Kaplan. I live on Rose Street. And in case you've been living under a rock for the past couple of weeks or months, none of you look like you have been, the Burlington Farmers Market's happening on this Saturday from, I think, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the afternoon down on Pine Street. So I hope to see everyone down there, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. The first farmers market of the year, Burlington, Pine Street.
All right, thank you, everybody. All right, moving on to the first item of our agenda, we have the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department, so c'est suave. will presenting us with a update on the Roosevelt Park Comprehensive Plan. Hi.
Hello. Thanks for having us tonight. My name is Sophie Sauvé. I'm the Parks Comprehensive Planner with Burlington Parks Recreation Waterfront, and I'm here to provide you with a very short update on the Roosevelt Park Comprehensive Plan. And then Pitt, my colleague, will provide an update on the Dewey Park. So the Roosevelt Park Comprehensive Plan started last fall, and we hosted a public meeting here in November. And after that public meeting, our group regrouped and thought more about doing additional outreach to community members that were not yet participating in the process. So we paused the project for a little bit to do a lot of that outreach, which meant meeting with smaller groups, smaller individual groups that use Roosevelt Park or maybe don't use Roosevelt Park to understand what their needs are. And now we're kick-starting back up into the process, which means we're developing options for the long-range plan for Roosevelt Park. We have a public meeting coming up on June 6th at 5 o'clock in the park. If the weather is bad, we will come back here because it's a great space. But everybody is invited to participate in that meeting. It will be about presenting options for the park. And it's an important milestone for the project. It means we are depending on everybody's input into those options and feedback. And it's an opportunity to ask questions and just talk to your neighbors about what they like about the park, what they don't like about the park, and the proposed design options. So please mark your calendars for June 6th. It's a Thursday. It will be beautiful in the park that night, and we'll make it even more fun by having a meeting. And it won't be a formal meeting. It will be more informal presentations of the plans and talking about them in the park. So there's that. At 5 o'clock. Yeah. And we'll have we have information on our project page, which is included on the agenda, and we'll have RSVPs. If you can RSVP, it just helps us to plan for staff and refreshments, etc. Great, and if anyone has questions, I'll be here. Oh, you have a question already?
So you came like last year, I think, or maybe it wasn't you, and I'm not exactly sure when you stopped taking information or gleaning information from wherever in the neighborhood, but I remember people talking about going to the schools and the Boys and Girls Club. And I think you guys said you were going to. I don't know if you have or not. And if you have, do you have any information that you got from them you can share with us about some of the kids' ideas that they shared with you for the park?
Sure, and it was me who came. I'm the project manager. So we had been at the Boys and Girls Club to hear from the kids at that time, and the resounding or the most popular ideas were basically to offer a more permanent way to play soccer in the park would be one of the ideas. Then we have ideas of a pool, a spa. There's a lot of dreaming that happened there, which was great. And a lot of the teenagers said they love the swing in the playground, which is not necessarily, or not the swing there, but they like the swing at Oakridge, which is bigger and is more cross ages. So those tidbits of information combined with the public meeting, the survey, and then we also went back to talk to Boys and Girls Club staff about their needs, how they use the building that's in the park, 'cause that's used by the Boys and Girls Club. And we also went to IAA and talked to the teachers and asked to speak with the kids. We haven't had success doing that yet, but we're always open to talking to more groups. And there's more, but yeah, hope that helps. And
Thank you. My name's Ben. I live on Decatur Street. And well, first of all, I've been so puzzled why there needs to be a comprehensive plan for Roosevelt Park, because it's just so well used, and it's well used. Like there's no, I mean, just all the uses seem to manage to fit in. There's not like any extra space for anything else. But I do remember at one point an idea of a off-leash dog area was floated, so I'm hoping that idea is no longer being floated, but wanted to ask you. Thank you.
So to your first point or question about a comprehensive plan, we identify parks to do a comprehensive plan in them when we have capital investments coming up and we want public input on whether or not we should invest in those specific projects in a park. So for example, if we're going to be replacing a playground, one, we want to make sure that the community still wants a playground in that park, and two, whether its location is still adequate. So Little Rosie has a playground in Roosevelt Park, for example. Should it still be there? And what kind of playground are we looking for? Is it still being used by the same age groups? Are there other age groups that aren't being addressed? And across the city at this time, we're making sure that when we replace a playground, and I'm using that as an example because it's something everybody can picture, we're making sure they're accessible. Because right now, all the wood chips make it inaccessible for many people to even get into the playground. So that's part of the reason why we do comprehensive plans. With Roosevelt Park, there was a desire to do investments in the park, and we want to make sure we know what the community wants instead of making assumptions. So if someone comes in and says, I want to build X, Y, and Z in Roosevelt Park, we can say, well, actually, the community said they want this instead of that, so can you maybe think about it differently? Otherwise, we're letting people decide what goes into a neighborhood park, and that's not what we want to do. We want to hear from the community ahead of that. And to your point, Roosevelt Park is very well used, but there are people who are not using the park. And those are voices that we're trying to hear from, and we have heard some folks that are saying, since there was an incident in the park, they perceive the park as not safe, and they don't see people in the park. There's perception there, but there's also things we can do to make people more comfortable in a park like Roosevelt. And one of the big things we've heard about so far is just basic things like, can there be more benches? Can there be more picnic tables? Can there be more lighting? So without having this process, we might hear from one or two individuals, but we're not hearing from a lot of people. So it's an opportunity to just really have those conversations. And that way we're giving ourselves a roadmap for the park into the future. And when we have a public process to back up our requests, we have all that documentation, so it lines us up better for funding. So that's why we embarked on this in Roosevelt Park specifically this year.
I have a question. Okay, so I'm Charlie from Ward 2, and with all due respect to everyone, every time the city wants to do something to parks, they come to these meetings and they say, we want your feedback. Okay, but if you look at what happened in City Hall Park, there were like 20 meetings, and about 5 of them got recorded by CCTV. And in that, the public said that they wanted as much grass and as many trees as possible, and they didn't want the park commercialized. They didn't want anything commercial going on in the park. And yet what happened? They took the trees down, they covered up a lot of the grass. Then there's a park at the bottom of Archibald Street, the beginning of Archibald Street across from the school. I don't know about anybody else, but when I look at a park, what I want to see is grass and benches and trees. Unfortunately, the little park, the tiny little park at the bottom of Archibald Street, if you look at the construction that has just started, it's about 90%, I don't know, what would you call it, concrete? So there's going to be a huge statue there, and there's going to be very little grass left. So when it comes to Roosevelt Park, you're scaring me, okay? Because there's a lot of grass there, and there's less and less grass every decade. So again, with all due respect, the city keeps coming to the public and saying, we want your feedback. What do you want? The public keeps saying that they want grass and trees, and the city keeps coming back and plopping things on the grass. So our parks are shrinking. So I just wanted to make that general comment. Thank you.
Thanks for the comment. City Hall Park is not I think it's a bigger discussion than just grass versus trees. Our arborists would recount how a lot of the trees that were taken down were not in good shape, and that most of the time that's what we're doing, is we're taking down trees that aren't in good shape, or doing preventive maintenance because of emerald ash borer these days, and then replanting a lot more. VJ is very aggressive with his planting everywhere. He's running out of space actually in the public domain. So it's a bigger conversation than an example of City Hall Park or Dewey Park. It's really about accommodating as many needs as we can while preserving the public open space and green space. And every park actually has a maximum impervious surface that can be built without a variance. And to date, those are all being met. There's no variance. So just rest assured that our goal is not to pave over everything. It's really to build on the needs that we identify within the community. We are listening. And one could say the same thing for accessibility.
To play basketball, you can't do that at night in Burlington. We have 40,000 people. I think that seems like it should be something that could be solved pretty cheaply. I would like to be able to play basketball at night.
Understood. We have heard that request for several different facilities, including the skate park, for example. I will say it's not a cheap endeavor, and we're balancing the needs over 37 parks throughout the city. So when I'm saying our playgrounds or parks were built in the 70s, our playgrounds were built 30 years ago. There's several of them breaking down, so we're replacing what we have. And we are integrating lighting where we can in our capital planning, but it does not rise to the top in all of our parks. There are facilities that have lighting, but there are a few of them at this time.
Any further questions?
Was there a question? Is there another question?
Anybody? Any way I can talk?
We can hear you, Charlie.
Hi, my name is Charlie Messing. I was in on the City Hall Park project a great deal. Sorry, I broke my foot. That's why I can't be there today. My usual suggestion is to fix the sidewalks. And now I am a victim of the sidewalks. But the park, yes, that was quite a thing. We saved 12 out of the 20 full-grown trees that are there. They wanted to take even more of them. They wanted to straighten out the path so that it looks good on paper. And we said those trees should stay. And hopefully, new mayor is not as much of a planner and builder. And yes, we want grass, we want trees, and the public input was solicited and then ignored. Whoever said that, yep, that did happen. I went to all kinds of meetings. And hopefully we can get somewhere with keeping the parks park-like, which involves grass and trees. It doesn't involve statues. It doesn't involve a whole lot of concrete. And ADA compliance is good. And we had it, but they wanted to fix it anyway. Anyway, yes, I hope everything goes well with the park. I hope everyone can make it the way they want and come to agreements about keeping it park-like. And I don't see any reason why there shouldn't be some place to play basketball at night. I think that's That's a quite sensible suggestion. Sounds great. And I don't want to hog the meeting, but I talk a lot. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. My name is Pit Kiomanivan. I'm with the City of Burlington Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. I'm just here to give up a quick update about the Embrace and Belonging Monument. But for those who aren't following this, I just really quickly, the origins of the monument. So back in 2021, the nation was going through racial reckoning with the death of George Floyd, and the city made a commitment to have a permanent structure to past, present, and future social justice work and equity work. And REIB was the department to commission this art. We worked with BCA to find the artists, put a selection committee together.
Plant a lot of trees, especially the evergreens and the indigenous plant. It's going to help to mitigate the climate change and urban heat island effect. One is that suggestion, and another, I would suggest that if you build a unit for research where you can do research on, some of the challenges like urban living labs, so you can experiment a lot of new things within that park. It would be park as well as kind of a scientific park where different researchers will come and conduct their research. Thanks.
Thank you.
And
It is on. Okay. Hi, this is just going back real quick to the statue. I admittedly did not attend any like NPA or other public meetings back in the fall or previously in regards to the statue being built in Dewey Park. And I personally, therefore, don't feel like I have very strong opinions one way or the other built around it, but I have seen quite a bit of discussion around it and opinions filling the spectrum. And I was wondering if it could just be confirmed that the artist chosen for the statue was not a Vermont artist, and if just some like context could be provided around that decision. Thank you.
Yes, you are correct. The artist that was chosen by the selection committee is not from Vermont. There was the call to artists that went out to all the nations across the country, and that the selection committee, which was comprised of local Old North End neighborhoods, residents such as like the farmers market was on there, and students and organizations had selected that person.
any further questions for anybody? I would just like to echo the gentleman's comment about the basketball at night. I know that there are some folks that might like to try to play ice hockey at night too, but I think at this point they just settled to have a rink. I also wanted to call you guys out and say nice job on the Champlain Street Park. I was down that way. I know it's still a work in progress, but it's obvious from the work that has been done, it's going to be a really nice facility. So great job with that. I wanted to call that out.
Thanks, and look for a celebration for that opening in June sometime. They are ahead of schedule because the weather has been great, but it will be a great spot.
Okay. Any further questions about either of these projects for our Parks and Rec folk? Amy?
I'm just wondering whether, I know there were some worries about how much space there would be for the farmers market down at Dewey Park once the statue's gone into position, and I wondered what had happened, had become of that discussion.
We are currently still in discussion with the farmers market. We're actually next week meeting with the manager and a vendor to look over the site. But yes, the farmers market and this project, we've been having continuous conversations.
Janet?
Thank you. I'm going back to an earlier topic. So about the relationship between people and their perceptions of their parks and their perceptions of the changes. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Sophie.
Person in the black.
Sophie.
Anyway.
Sophie.
Thank you, Sophie. I believe what you were saying, and I've also experienced what Charlie was saying, this person. So I'm trying to figure out, like, if those are both mostly true, where's the gap? So I hope that the public is more involved, or I hope the public feels more listened to, or I hope more of the public is aware of the public's involvement. Something's missing, and I think part of it is perception. So I understand and agree what Charlie said about sequentially missing the boat. And I've been here all my adult life, and I'm 73. So it makes me hope that you can do something more or different. Because I vaguely, a little bit, understand your, I'll call it bureaucratic situation, or the planning situation, like we have to plan this many years ahead, and we have this much capital funds, and blah, blah, blah. But there's a gap somewhere that I hope you can figure out how to add in and fill in. Thank you. Does that make sense to you?
I really am not following what gap you're referring to.
The public feels like, oh crap, here comes more concrete. Oh, they came to our NPA, they asked us what we want. The public perception is we want more trees, we want more grass, we want more this and that. And I hear you saying, these are my constraints. When we have capital funds, when we have money to do things, we'll do the things we've been talking about. Or I understand that the coverage, the non-permeable coverage in City Hall Park meets the rules or the guidelines, but it looks to people like cement. So the issue is either, I don't want to say Charlie's fibbing, and what he said fits my experience. I don't want to say you're fibbing because I believe you, but there's a huge gap between those two positions. Some people would say, the bureaucracy is lying. I'm not saying you're the bureaucracy or that you're lying. I'm saying the public perception is whatever we told you when you asked us is overtly not happening. So I'm hoping to support you in doing more of the work with the public to have the public understand better, and for you to hear the public better, or for the public to be heard better, feel like they're heard better. Does that make sense? Thank you.
I just wanted to interject. I know the question was for parks, but in the work that we do at REIB in the city, when you say the public, to us it's different because it's representative of all. And this is like a public place, but some of the communities that I reach out are not here.
Some of the what?
Some of the communities that I reach out to have a better understanding of the public, of those who are in Burlington, aren't represented here too.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
for sure.
One of the things that I just challenge us to do is like to really think beyond your community, and to be aware of when you're having discussions of what's fair, what's not fair, that we're thinking about communities that are marginalized, that don't have anybody to advocate for them, and have.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
To think outside of your community, and like think about communities that aren't represented in your community, and that they are the public too.
Oh yeah,
so
for sure.
I just wanted to just reframe that when we say the public or the community.
Sure.
That it's important for us to think beyond our own community. And as a city, we really try to fill those gaps too, and we try to balance out when we're here to understand
I think I'm interrupting you. I think you're right. When I said the public, I was lopsidedly talking about wards 2 and 3 and this end of the city. That's true. I wonder if the public events where you ask people for feedback, like maybe here, if there's notes from those or tapes from those, can they be posted so that somebody like me can go see what Ward 1 or Ward 5 or the New North End wanted also?
I'm going to let them respond, and then we have to move on to the next topic, or runs the CCRP rating.
In the case of Roosevelt Park, there is no tape. There's no taping, and there won't be when we have a meeting in the park, because it's an informal, informational event. Plus, I would say that most of the people who show up to those meetings are not the voices that are not represented, so it's not representative of the whole community. And that's the extra work we do that's not, you don't know that it's going on because we're doing it one-on-one or with a smaller group. So I just caution of the opinion that you've heard from everybody at the meeting and that's what should move forward. It's really a bigger picture than that. And it's also about balancing that with, the needs that we're identifying within the park. If you go to Roosevelt Park in the next couple weeks, notice how many trees there are there. They're not very many. Climate change is here, it's real. One of our goals is to add more trees to the park, but we have to be strategic so that the active recreation that's happening there is not impeded at the same time. So we're trying to balance all those needs, what we're hearing, what's missing for the people who aren't using the park or who aren't at this meeting, and then developing a plan. And I urge everybody to come to that meeting and bring your neighbors and bring the people who are never in this room who need to be represented during a process like a comprehensive plan for a neighborhood park, because those are your neighbors and they also have needs that aren't being voiced.
All right, thank you everyone for the discussion. We have to move on to the next agenda topic. Thank you, Sophie and Pitt, for your time. All right, Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission, you guys are up.
Okay, actually, I just wanted to mention one thing. So again, I'm Charlie. So you'll notice that there's this strange little line here. Okay, does anybody know what the force of gravity is? Yes, there is someone back there. Well, you'll notice that there's a little cord here that's come down, and that's why that's there. So we apologize for the force of gravity. Thank you.
We're going to take a 5-minute pause here to correct the technical difficulties. Please stand by. Try the other end. You can see we are well-resourced here at the NPA tonight. Little adaptive reuse here going on with the trash grabber. All right, Travis. All right. Thank you.
Hello. Okay, great. Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah. I'm not really used to using microphones, so forgive me for any hesitancy with that. I work with the CCRPC, which is the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission. Hopefully, some people are less familiar with the work an RPC does or what a regional plan is. I have this presentation. I'm realizing I should have had my computer up here because I'm going to be glancing back and forth, but I'll just go through a couple slides and then we could have time for discussion. So next slide. You could go to the next slide. I see you guys have your own code of conduct. And let's go to the next slide. Okay, so what does a regional planning commission do? We work with the different municipalities throughout Chittenden County to work on planning projects, development projects, and just coordinate efforts on how we want our communities to be. So you guys are talking about a park in Burlington that's planning. We're just thinking about it in the bigger picture. So Burlington has a lot of very different needs from Bolton. So our job is to sort of coordinate efforts so that your neighboring municipalities, your neighboring communities, we're working together towards common goals. Next slide. Yeah, so what does that mean? We author regional plans, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in the next slide. We support cities and towns in implementing local plans, so city plans or sometimes even more smaller projects. And we work with the state of Vermont to implement policies at the local level, and then we also act as a pass-through for state and federal funding. So we have an annual work plan each year, and some state funding will come, and federal funding will come through the CCRPC and go to different municipalities for different projects. Next slide, let's skip this one and we're gonna come back to this one. Sorry, I did a little reorganizing before this. So like I said, we have a regional plan. Regional plans are required by the state of Vermont. They are meant to reflect community needs and concerns and ensure coordination, so sort of all the things that I had said that RPCs do at the beginning. So this regional plan was originally written in 2012. They need to be updated every 8 years, so this one was updated in 2018, and we are in the midst of updating it with new data and accounting for shifting priorities. So that's sort of what we're here to talk to you about, is what is really important to you to see in this regional plan. We are working off of a draft document, so that's a little bit of a limitation and an asset. You know, we have a lot of the data already gathered, but the world looked a lot different in 2018 than it does now. So what's important now and what is missing from the current plan that should be added into this new version of the plan that's looking 8 years forward. We are required to update plans every 8 years, so kind of a strange timeline, but that's what we're required to do. So if you could go back to the previous slide. So the ECOS plan, which stands for Environment, Community, Opportunity, and Sustainability, that's our title for the regional plan. All regional planning commissions have a plan. Ours just has the fun name of the ECOS plan. These are the 17 sort of topics that are in it, so very wide-ranging, you know, from land use and housing to transportation to civic engagement and social connectedness. So every project that we take on as an RPC, or every project that we write a letter of support for or give funding to, needs to fall into a regional plan. It needs to align with a goal or an action in the regional plan. So we're here today to talk about some of the goals and the actions for some of these chapters in the regional plan. So you could skip ahead 2 slides. There are some supplemental plans, just to let you all know about that go into much more detail. So our Metropolitan Transportation Plan is super, super detailed about all the different roads and transit systems and mobility, active mobility, those types of things. So if you wanted to like get really in the weeds about transportation, that would be the plan to look at. In the regional plan, it's more of just a summary. That's true of the other plans that are up here as examples. But just to let you know, if you ever are interested, you could feel free to dig in. And then the next slide. So yeah, we're here to engage with all of you who showed up to this NPA meeting. We're really glad you invited us here today. We're really excited to hear any input or ideas you have to share. Before we move forward, do folks have any specific questions before diving into more discussion about CCRPC or what the regional plan is or why it's important?
So what are some of the outcomes of this? You write policies, or you're making grants, or what are the actions?
Yeah, so we don't technically write policy. Taylor, you could jump in here too. But we act as a funnel through for a lot of state and federal funding. So this, as a policy tool, this regional plan is really more of like a carrot than a stick. So like the city of Burlington could get funding for a project that achieves an action that is listed in this plan, if that makes sense. So that's sort of how one of the reasons why it matters, and that we as an organization are also actively working to achieve many of the actions in the plan. The plan has like over 100 actions in it, so at no one time are we working on over 100 projects, but we'll work on like some key projects each year to advance the actions that are included in this plan. I have some handouts so you could see some examples of what actions are in there that I'll pass out. You look confused.
So people will apply for grants and you would approve or not approve based on the plan?
municipalities apply for funding through our program. So it's we serve municipalities, so City of Burlington or City of Colchester, Town of Colchester. They will apply for funding through our
CCRPC.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Taylor wants to add in.
The plan sets regional policy, and hopefully regional policy that is broad enough to have all our member municipalities agree on a coordinated approach. And I think Sarah's brought up that one of the ways that we implement the plan is through funding projects or through supporting municipalities that want to get funding to do planning projects and support them to go get state or federal money to go do that. But it also influences how we interact with our state agencies and how we interact with the legislature. So I'm going to use an example from the current plan. The current plan talks about having a regional goal of having 80% of our new housing development in areas planned for growth. And by that I mean areas that have water and sewer access, that are close to public transit. And so having that goal allows us to, I don't want to use the A word, advocate, but for us to try to work on policy at the legislative level to further that, and to also work with our municipalities to have plans that also have that goal, and to work with our municipalities to adopt zoning that also would support that goal. So it is about money, but it is also about policy. Does that help clarify or further confuse things?
It's also a little tricky because we are in this really interesting position where our board is made up of representatives from each municipality. So all of our actions are directed from the municipalities, but we also have this relationship with the state and sort of, we both serve the municipalities and also act as a consultant to municipalities very often. So it is kind of an interesting dynamic. So it is confusing. It's not strange to be confused.
So in a nutshell, you're about as close to county government as we're going to get in Vermont.
It's as close to county government as you'll get in Vermont. We don't collect taxes, but yes.
For those of you who grew up on the other side of the lake.
Any other clarifying questions? Yeah.
How much money are we talking about, and how much does it vary year to year?
That is a Taylor question. Sorry, Taylor.
So are we talking just what our budget is, or are we talking about like what sort of money do municipalities have access to? All right, good question. So the majority of our funding comes from federal highway. And a lot of that funding goes right back out to our municipalities to pay for consultants to do projects. So in Burlington, for instance, we're funding 80% of the Battery Street corridor project, looking at different alternative ways we can do multimodal transportation on Battery Street. And so money yearly available for those kinds of transportation projects, about $2.5 to $3 million a year across all of our municipalities, 20% local match to come get that money. A lot of the rest of our budget is really to pay for staff time. It's really those transportation dollars that go back out. There are exceptions. Like right now we have a community tree planting grant, for instance. We got money from the Agency of Natural Resources to administer a grant program that's really focused on urban tree planting. And so as a part of that program, we have $670,000 available. And that grant's actually available right now if we have any nonprofits or maybe even an NPA that wants to apply on behalf of the City of Burlington to come get some trees. So yeah, it varies year to year, depending on what kind of pass-through grants we have, but that transportation money is pretty consistent.
Cool.
We have had an articulated desire for more trees in our parks tonight, too. This works out really well.
Yeah.
All right, without further ado, we're going to break up into the breakout groups now. We're going to split into 3 groups. They're going to be
you can go to the
economy.
next slide. Sorry.
Pardon?
They are on the next slide.
There we go. Economy, household finance, housing and health, civic engagement, and social connectedness. So since we have 3 groups of tables, we'll do 1, 2, 3. Economy and household, housing and health, and civic engagement and connectedness.
Yeah, so I have some handouts. So as you guys group up, I'll just pass out the handouts. And I would love if somebody could take notes in the 3rd group that Taylor or I are not sitting in, and just make sure to write the topic at the top of the note taker. economy, housing health, civic engagement.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap up the group breakout session portion of the agenda here and get back on track for our city councilors to give their update. I feel like I need a whistle. All right, Councilor Grant, please approach the podium.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Okay, Joe.
Really quickly, as we're wrapping up this ECOS thing, I just want to thank you all so much for your participation and sharing your ideas and welcoming us here. We really appreciate it. We do have some flyers with a link to a survey. We heard your voices tonight about these chapters. The survey's a little higher level, just like, do I like this goal or do I not like this goal? But there is room for comments, so if you want to engage with different chapters, there'll be a little pamphlets at the exit that you could take to go for the road. But thank you all so much.
All right, thank you for coming out tonight and sharing.
Well, look at that,
Let
Sylvia. You wanna see
Councilor
something
Grant and
cool?
Councilor Kane come on up.
Well, and Jean is here.
And Councilor Bergman, thank you.
Yeah. Here with Sylvia, my granddaughter. Here, we'll pick her up so you can
And
see.
thank you for organizing the cleanup on the 18th.
Well, that's the only thing I have to add for this.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
That's okay.
Without further ado.
Hi, everyone. Mila Grant, Central District, Wards 2 and 3. So we just got a schedule for what is referred to as the Marvelous Nights of May, AKA budget time. So it's going to be a schedule where the different departments come to special Board of Finance meetings and they present their budgets for FY25. So as you all know, I frequently encourage people to learn how to use Civic Clerk, because even if you don't have time to watch the meetings, you can at least go and see the attachments. These budgets will be attached to the meetings. You can open them and you can take a look at them and you can see where that money is going. I imagine that a lot of these meetings are going to be interesting in light of a $13 million deficit that needs to be met up. So when people say, we don't know how that money's being spent, well, you can find out. You do have access to that information. And if you need help using Civic Clerk, please let us know. With the new council, our committees have started. So you're able to watch those meetings. Our first public safety meeting was basically to review a lot of open issues and then what we wanted to work on in the upcoming months, as well as making sure all the various reports with data in our city is attached. So you have access to that. You want to know how many police officers we have right now? Do you want to know how many overdoses we have right now? Do you want to know how hard the fire department is working? You have access to all that information. And I think that is where I'll leave it for me.
Okay, thanks, Milo. My name is Joe Kane. I'm the city councilor for Ward 3, so that's mostly downtown, into the Old North End, up to North Street. I am on the Board of Finance, so I will be sitting through the presentations from department heads starting this coming Monday, the Marvelous Nights of May that Milo referenced. If you guys have concerns that you want to raise, every Board of Finance meeting there is public comment at the beginning. And you can also shoot me an email, jkane@burlingtonvt.gov. If you would like to raise specific concerns about the budget. One thing, there are many aspects of the budget that I'm interested in. One thing that I'm going to be keeping an eye on is parking revenues. I think that we might be subsidizing parking excessively and not raising reasonable revenues from parking. I have reason to believe that. That's one thing that I'm working on in relation to making sure this this budget is sensible and adds up. I'm also on the Community Development and Neighborhood Revitalization Committee, and we were just referred a resolution related to the NPAs, actually. If any of you saw the meeting this past Monday, there was a presentation from Jonathan Chappell-Sokol. He's a Ward 1 NPA member. I think this resolution comes out of the Ward 1 NPA. I think right now there's no formal real relationship or requirements between like the city and the NPAs. There's some requirements that some presentations are given at the NPAs. There's some financial relationship to some degree, but the relationship, maybe could be formalized better. I think, to give one example, when presentations do come to NPAs, and I was just saying this during our small group meeting, I think it would be really good if there was clarity on what parts of projects are fixed and what parts are not fixed, are not set in stone. So, there will be a grant application for a project that, for example, with the Winooski Bridge project, that commits us to a certain number of lanes, right? Certain aspects of the project are not going to change, certain aspects are going to change. And so, when people come and give required presentations, there should be further requirements. NPAs should have requirements, themselves, if we're going to formalize our relationship in some way, to, perhaps have a quorum, a certain number of people in the ward that would vote on issues, or some, heightened support from the city and obligation maybe to include translation services to try to, make sure that the NPA meeting, is, available to every member of the community. There are many details to be thought through of, formalizing the NPA-city relationship better. There are, some risks associated with it. We don't want to further slow down already slow policymaking processes, but we do want to give, the citizens a stronger voice. We do want to enhance democracy. So, there's some nuance with the sort of work we're going to be doing, and you can follow it by following the Community Development and Neighborhood Revitalization Meetings, CDNR. So if you go to Civic Clerk, if you go to the city's website, the city meetings are listed there. The first meeting on this topic will be this coming Wednesday on Zoom at 7 p.m. One other update I have is the progressive councilors signed a letter in support of, or wrote a letter and sent a letter in support of the student encampment at UVM, which I think is now disbanded. It was in support of Palestinian liberation. It called on the university to divest from the state of Israel, among other things. The mayor announced during the council meeting this past Monday that there are going to be some formal community conversations on the issue of Israel-Palestine, coordinated through the Community Justice Center. So that stay tuned for updates on exactly what that's going to look like. And yeah, I think, I don't know, do you want to talk about the park and the trees, or do you want to? Yeah, we'll let Jean go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to talk about the park and the trees. I'm going to talk about the one cleanup day. Just a real quick thing here. So not this Saturday, but a week from this Saturday, we'll be having a cleanup day where we'll have a 30-yard rollout at IAA and one at SA, so that people can bring their unused garbage and furniture and things that they're trying to dispose of. This is a cleanup project that we have had in the Old North End a number of times. I remember one, oh gosh, a while ago at IAA. There was another one on Murray Street at 2017. This is a way for people to clean up both the community and your own yards and properties. And just we're going to need volunteers for that. So the time that we're going to be doing it will be from 10 to 2:30. That's when we'll accept materials, but we're going to need to set up from about 9 o'clock till 10, and then clean up and make sure that everything is taken care of from 2:30 to 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock. We'll need help there. We want folks to be able to go out into the community. This actually, although it's an idea that we have had and done in the past, this came from conversations that I had with a Rose Street resident who, in the context of me being out and about, reached out to me and said that, you know, we've got a lot of problems with garbage and discarded things like tires in the community, and can we do something about it? So this is a direct result of that. And I've got a 2-year-old behind me who should be in bed, but yes, Sylvia, you can see you. Okay, so I'm going to go and leave the rest to my able colleagues there, because I can't compete with a 2-year-old. But here, we'll just say good night, Sylvia. Good night, Sylvia. Okay. And I'm going to go to help get her to sleep. So carry on, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Berger. Looks like we do have one question from the audience.
Allocated by the NPAs, and a street association or just a group of neighbors could request funding for that. Is that money gone, or is that the money that the councilors have access to now?
I actually don't know anything about those funds. We are using funds from the budget allocation that we have each year. So it's money that we can use at our discretion, usually to do our job. Like I might get business cards, for example, things like that. And we just took a look at what was available and made a presentation to the Board of Finance with what we wanted to do, how much it would cost, and it got approved this week.
So there is or is not CDBG money available, whether or not it's with this particular project?
I don't know, but I could find out.
Okay, thank you.
Jacob. After Amy.
Are you thinking about there was some money coming through CEDO that I used a number of years ago to do something like that?
Community Development and Block Grant money.
And I think we did it through CEDO.
Okay, a couple of questions. Are we going to have, it sounds like we're going to have a dumpster at each school, and will we also have a dumpster for recycling there as well? Do you know?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's the hope for this event is a little broader than last times, where people just came and brought their oversized things that they normally can't get rid of. But it sounds like we kind of want to build a spirit of maybe cleaning stuff up that's on greenways and whatnot. That's are you guys thinking about how should we engage with you guys? Like, are you gonna do some front porch forums? Are we gonna do a little sign up thing? How should we figure
the first notice dropped in Front Porch Forum today. So if you haven't had a chance to view your email from this afternoon, you'll go in and you'll see it. It has Jean's contact information for volunteers. Yeah, and we're probably going to do another post as it gets closer. We're going to do some social media, and we just need people to spread the word, I think. Are there any other questions about that event? I think it's something that we need for our area. Our area's been through a lot. We, with regards to our police department, we are kind of in the exact same position with regards to the number of officers, although we're fully staffed with the CSLs, the community service liaisons, and we are still trying to hire some more community service officers. So community support liaison and community service officers, they're going to have the patrols of the downtown, but that's like really Church Street and City Hall Park. So it's discouraging. So we're going to have to continue to look out for each other. If you have, Ring cameras or other cameras, lights that are motion sensors, all these things, let us know, your city councilors, anything abnormal that you're seeing that you feel you should be getting a response on. Each month, the chief's report does have a summary of the priority response plan. Be familiar with the priority response plan and know when you should get a response. And if you're not getting a response, please let us know. If you submitted an online report or if you need a report for insurance purposes and you're not getting it, let us know. We'll try to help out with that. But we're not sure what we're going to see this summer. Overdoses, the end of last year, started to trend down. And the beginning of this year, they're trending down. There has been some good, excellent work done with our federal partners in terms of dealing with some major trafficking. So that has helped with some of the supply, especially supply that had a lot of xylazine and some other mixtures of the drugs that led to a lot of the overdoses. So hopefully that work will continue with federal partners, because we regrettably still have some trafficking going on in the city. The legislature passed Overdose Prevention Center, and we should do an event. We got to do an event on OPCs, because I have so much in my head about OPCs, especially the way that OPCs, Overdose Prevention Centers, that have been operating, how they work with law enforcement, and how they affect their area. One of the things that's interesting is that people always worry, will there be more crime if they come into the area? Well, OPCs tend to already be in areas that were experiencing the crime. So it's not just looking at crime and quality of life issues that happen once they open. You've got to track what was happening before in order to say, is it a fair equivalent to say that something increased? If there was something that was already happening before, then it's not necessarily the fault of an OPC. So I think in the future we'll have a longer conversation of that. I have a feeling Governor Scott will veto it, and so then it'll be something, probably one of his many vetoes, and we'll have to look to the legislature to override that and other things that we need. And yes, in Vermont, I don't know how many of you have heard about the gentleman that's been naked around town lately. We allow that. If you leave your house naked, it's not against the law. If you're dressed and you go down Church Street and take off all your clothes, so then that's the problem. But if you left your house that way, it isn't. So it's just another one of these things that our laws don't really address what's happening. So, any other questions? Myself or Joe? Yes.
Downtown patrol, will that be part of the downtown patrols?
I know they are already there a bit, and they do get called in to there. Once again, we're going to be looking at just that narrowness due to the staffing level. We were kind of, and this is where we're back now. It's going to be City Hall Park, it's going to be Church Street, and if there's something that meets like being a priority one, trying to get someone there. But they are already in that area, as well as the street team from Howard Center. They're continuing to do their work at all as well. And I know they're trying to get one of the, I forgot, what the one of the park rangers as well, which should be a different type of job. It should be a job where teaching people how to use and enjoy parks, but they end up dealing a lot with the unhoused situation and also people who are suffering from SUD. That's become a major part of their job, regrettably. Any other questions?
Yes, I've got one. And this isn't much of a question, but so I've been in Burlington a long time, and going from one fiscal year to the next, sometimes we're underfunded by like $1 million or $2 million. To be short $13 million is historic in Burlington. Nothing even approaches it in the last 50 years. So I'm shocked that no one in the mayor's office, no one on the city council, no one in the treasurer's office could foresee this coming a year or more. A long time ago, they should have seen this coming, especially when they're establishing an entire new department. The racial equity department.
Departments, they establish multiple
right. And
departments
so with no idea where the funding was going to come from. The mayor's office and the city council have been approving a lot of spending with nothing to back it up.
Yep.
And I'm very shocked to see that this is the first time in Burlington history that anything remotely close to this has happened.
So last year, there was a significant deficit, millions of dollars. They still had ARPA money, and they used it to plug it. I feel that I'm a little bit more in tune this year. Last year, I was like fresh off the election, and I felt like bulldozed during the budget process. I have really encouraged Joe. I'm so glad to have him on the Board of Finance meeting with his finance background. And I've also talked to the other newer council people and being like, you've got to watch all these meetings. You really have to pay attention in a way that you didn't. So they used ARPA money last year. They don't have that money this year. The federal government allowed money from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, to be used for that purpose. And the former mayor did. Things that are going on right now that should have been started earlier, but he didn't do it, was that there's a big evaluation on the fee and tax structure and how the city generates revenue. That is something that should have been finished. It's supposed to be finished very, very shortly, but it's something that should have been done a while ago. Planning for these various departments and programs and extra positions that were put up by ARPA money, you know, things come directed by the mayor. I think what we're going to see with our new mayor and what she has shown so far is a lot of transparency and really talking to people to say, this is what's happening, this is what we've already identified we can do. How we make an additional $4 million error, I have no idea. I mean, I don't. I'm not sure, because I do ask myself, how would I have known that, right? We have people in certain positions in the city that are responsible for certain things. How do you miss millions of dollars of employee benefits? I don't understand. I don't understand. I know that there's flux, like you might be off. To be off by $4 million, you're right. It's extraordinary and it's terrible. And coming off from a previous administration that prided themselves on being, you know, finance. Yeah, but exactly. So
okay,
yeah.
but actually it's 13. Now 4 is even more, but.
Right.
So
Well, it was
13.
9 because that's what they were saying for months. They
Yeah,
were
I
saying it was
understand
9, and now it's 13.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying that 13 is a shocking number, 9 is a
Shocking number, yep.
And it seems like somebody should have known this a long time ago.
I am pretty sure somebody did.
See, it doesn't really affect me too much because I'm independent and my house is paid for, and so it doesn't really affect me. But I see on Rose Street where I live, I've got 3 neighbors. One's been in their house over 40 years, one over 30 years, and one over 10 years. And they're all selling their houses and they're getting out of Vermont because they can't afford to live here.
A lot of people are living, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of our young people are living. Young people that we normally expect to stay and start the next part of their lives, the mid-20s to the early 30s. A lot of them, the statistics, by the time the statistics catch up with what's happening, it's going to be too late. It's going to take a while to build that back. So I hear you. My kid who's 29, he's one of them. He's made it clear he's not renewing his lease, and he's trying to get down to the New York, New Jersey area. And,
okay, so I'm not really directing my comments to the two of you. But the problem is you've only got three city councilors on the city council now that have more than 4 years experience.
Yep.
That's really dangerous. And now we have a new mayor, and that's dangerous as well. And so now the biggest deficit...
I really disagree with that, because we have someone now whose character is really different from what we had before. We have someone who is going to tell us the truth.
You're talking about the
and
mayor.
that matters. I'm talking about the mayor. We have someone who is going to be handling things very different, has already shown that she's handling things very differently. Like when she can tell the public something, she's going to tell the public. And she's already been consistent with messaging, trying to get out messaging in different ways. If you don't get the mayor's newsletter, sign up. You can go to the city's website, sign up to get the mayor's newsletter so you'll get updates. But she's going to be explaining to people as we go along what's going to be happening. And that is just not something we had before. And I think that is really important to recognize. That transparency is going to mean something under this current administration. It did not under the previous.
I believe you. Thank you.
I think my question follows exactly this topic. So how long ago did what should have begun to be obvious, how long ago was that? And can't we hold some of the people who seriously didn't do their job responsible or liable in some way?
I would just say that looking forward, it's the job of the Board of Finance to be extra vigilant to make sure that there's enough context provided in the budget presentations that that the Board of Finance is not just a place for the mayor to get their agenda through, but is a place for dialogue, is a place where there's transparency. I think the tone has been set to that effect, and so, for instance, there actually are, I think, a small amount of ARPA funds remaining that we will be using this coming budget cycle, and so it's important to be aware of those. Just where are the funds that are not going to be recurring, so that we make sure that they're being applied, and we're being we're at least aware of recurring expenses versus non-recurring expenses, and recurring revenues versus non-recurring revenues. It all seems very obvious and very basic, and it's very disappointing.
I think you're talking about the future, or now and the future.
Right now, all we can do is move forward. I mean, they knew what the budget shortfall last year was, and it was millions of dollars, and they filled it with ARPA money.
I'm just trying to bring up the past. I just like the idea that there could be a way to hold people responsible a couple of years ago who made this foundation so crumbly.
I agree with you, and other than certain people no longer being in office, that's one way. I don't think, the prior administration didn't have a mandate. When you think about it, the last 2 elections did not get a majority of the vote, but didn't listen to people. I think that we have, at least our caucus is asking a lot more questions We asked a lot of questions about 200 Church Street, 200 Church. I'd like to see us get more money for that. I believe we could have gotten more money for that, but we're dealing with something that was previously negotiated. The deal with Burlington Telecom, basically, they get that building in the future. So why would we put more investment in a building that we're not going to be able to hold on to? That's part of that conversation. But I think we can only look forward, fix now, and then hopefully set ourselves up for future success.
I think I understand that you have more to do than, your hands are full, you have plenty of work. And I'm not asking you to clean up the past. I'm just, and now it's near the end of the evening, but I'm just asking a question, hopefully not totally rhetorically, that like somewhere, somehow, something should pre-exist that holds people responsible. And maybe I'm unrealistic. I'm just hoping somebody whose bailiwick that is knows how that works.
Yeah, I think it's so hard to say because I feel like there were a lot of failures at a lot of different areas, and then you got to the top, and we didn't have the type of leadership we needed to have. And when you're not in the like political majority, and I mean, there were questions that were asked that were dismissed about a lot of things, and things were moved. It was politics over people over and over again. I think now we're having people over politics, the best that we can have. And still we had people vote no to support the nurses and supporting a fair contract for them, right? We had people who voted no Monday night. So there's that. I'll just leave it by saying it's got to be people over politics, and that's what's going to change. But I think things are going to definitely be tough for the next year, probably the next 2 years, because you have to look at cleaning this up before you can even get to some of the things that were talked about in the campaigns.
All right, we are well over time. I've been reminded of that. So we'll wrap it up, but I think we had a really good discussion tonight. I'll just simply say to our two counselors, my comment is higher taxes equal higher rents. So please don't raise the taxes.
Well, the way the rents are going, I don't even think it's related to taxes right now. I think there's
It's a cumulative effect over
well,
30
it is
to
a cumulative
30 years,
effect, but
we'll say maybe we can have a tax discussion sometime. There we go.
we
got some
could.
expertise there, right, Joe? All right. All right, well, thanks everyone for coming out tonight. I also want to thank our volunteers in the kitchen who made the community dinner. I know a number of them are long gone, but wanted to recognize them. We do have the NPA door prize here for whomever. You want to do the honors? Want me to? I'll do the honors. All right, I'll grab one here. And the winner is Julia DiPietro. Congratulations, you win a door prize. We have some leftover food available if you want to take that, and please check at the table on the way out. Thank you.